Welcome, friends, to a journey through the ancient wisdom of Stoicism, a philosophy that has guided countless souls through life's storms for over 2,000 years. I'm here to share with you timeless insights that can help us face the deepest challenges, from the ache of loss to the turbulence of emotional turmoil. Stoicism, born in the bustling markets of Athens and honed in the courts of Rome, isn't just a set of abstract ideas. It's a practical toolkit for living well, no matter the circumstances. It teaches us how to stand firm when the world around us shakes. So let me ask you this: what if the key to true freedom isn't found in changing the world outside, but in transforming the world within ourselves? What if the burdens we carry could be lightened, not by escaping pain, but by learning to embrace it with clarity and strength? Stay with me as we uncover how this ancient path can illuminate even our darkest days. As I reflect on the human condition, I see a struggle that binds us all: the deep, often painful pull of attachment. We hold tightly to people, dreams, and outcomes, believing they define our happiness. Yet modern life seems to sharpen this ache. Breakups tear at our hearts, leaving us replaying conversations that can't be undone. Grief over a loved one's passing lingers, a heavy shadow over even the brightest days. Unmet expectations, whether a failed career goal or a friendship that fades, gnaw at our sense of worth, whispering that we've lost control. And in this fast-paced world, where social media glorifies perfection and comparison, these wounds feel magnified. Every scroll reminds us of what we lack, intensifying our sense of powerlessness. We are caught in a cycle of longing for what was or what could be, unable to step free. But I ask you to pause and consider: why do we cling to things we can't control? What is it within us that grips so tightly, even when it causes us pain? Let's explore this together, peeling back the layers of our shared human experience to uncover the roots of our suffering. As we grapple with the question of why we cling so tightly to things beyond our control, let's turn to an ancient perspective that offers clarity. Stoicism, born in the bustling markets and turbulent times of ancient Greece and Rome, teaches us that suffering is an inevitable part of the human experience. The great Stoic philosopher Seneca, whose wisdom has echoed through centuries, wrote passionately about enduring pain with grace rather than complaint. According to historical insights from Britannica.com, Seneca believed that adversity is not just something to tolerate, but a forge for character. He urged us to meet life's hardships head-on, not with despair, but with a steady heart, acknowledging that pain, like a storm, will pass if we stand firm. Why does this mindset matter today? In our fast-paced modern world, we're often bombarded with challenges, be it personal losses, societal pressures, or unmet dreams. Seneca's teachings remind us that while we can't escape suffering, we can choose how to face it. Instead of being overwhelmed by emotional turmoil, we can cultivate resilience, finding strength in the realization that some things are simply meant to be endured. This perspective shifts power back to us, transforming victimhood into quiet endurance. In a culture obsessed with instant fixes and avoidance of discomfort, Stoicism offers a counterpoint. True freedom comes not from evading pain, but from mastering our response to it. As we reflect on this, let's consider how often we've fought against the inevitable, exhausting ourselves in the process. Seneca's words invite us to lay down that burden, to accept suffering as a teacher, not an enemy, and to walk through life with unshakable dignity. With this foundation, we can begin to see how letting go becomes not just possible, but liberating. Let me paint a picture that many of us know all too well. Imagine waking up one morning to a world that feels shattered. Perhaps you've lost someone you held dear, a parent, a partner, or a friend who was your rock. The silence they've left behind is deafening, and every corner of your life seems to echo their absence. Or maybe it's a betrayal, a close confidant who turned their back on you when you needed them most, leaving you questioning trust itself. These moments strike at the core of who we are, testing our emotional resilience in ways we never anticipated. The pain feels like a weight you can't lift, a shadow that follows you through every day. And the hardest part? Letting go. Without guidance, we cling to the hurt, replaying the memories, wondering if we could have done something differently. It's as if holding on is the only way to honor what was lost, even though it keeps us trapped. But what if there's another way, a path to release this burden? As we've seen through Seneca's timeless wisdom, suffering is unavoidable, yet it can be faced with grace. And as we move forward, we'll uncover a Stoic secret from Epictetus, that it's not the event itself, but our judgment of it that shapes our pain. Imagine reframing this loss or betrayal as a lesson. What could it teach you about strength, about yourself? Stay with me as we explore this transformative art of perception. As we reflect on the pain of losing a loved one or enduring betrayal, it's clear how deeply these moments test our emotional strength. The struggle to let go often feels insurmountable, especially when we lack guidance. But here, Stoic wisdom offers a lifeline. Let's explore the first secret to mastering detachment, the art of perception. One of the greatest Stoic thinkers, Epictetus, taught that it's not the events themselves that disturb us, but our judgments about them. Imagine this: a job loss stings not just because it happened, but because we label it as a failure or a catastrophe. Epictetus reminds us that we have the power to decide how we interpret life's challenges. Pain arises not from the event, but from the story we tell ourselves about it. So how can we apply this timeless wisdom? Try reframing a negative event as a lesson. The next time something bad happens, like a disagreement or a setback, pause and ask yourself, what can I learn from this? Instead of seeing it as a blow, view it as a teacher. This shift in perspective doesn't erase the event, but it strips away unnecessary suffering. By changing how we see the world, we begin to loosen the chains of attachment. And as we prepare to dive into the next secret, embracing rationality, we'll see how logic can become an anchor, much like it did for a Roman scholar named Lucius, who used reason to navigate profound personal loss. Continuing from the art of perception, let's explore the second Stoic secret, embracing rationality. As a philosophy, Stoicism teaches us that while emotions are natural, they can often cloud our judgment, especially in moments of grief or loss. When pain strikes, our instincts may drive us to despair or anger, but the Stoics urge us to step back and apply logic as an anchor. Reason becomes our compass, guiding us through the storm of feelings, reminding us to focus on what we can control, rather than what we cannot. Consider the story of Lucius, a Roman scholar from centuries past. When he lost his young son to illness, the weight of sorrow threatened to crush him. Yet, as a student of Stoic thought, Lucius chose to reason through his pain. He reminded himself that death is a natural part of life, beyond anyone's power to prevent. Instead of dwelling on why, he asked, "How can I honor my son's memory through my actions?" By focusing on purpose over despair, he found a way to carry on, dedicating his studies to helping others. Lucius teaches us that rationality doesn't erase emotion. It channels it into clarity. This principle is timeless. Whether you're mourning a personal loss or grappling with a shattered dream, pause and ask yourself, what is within my control here? How can I respond with wisdom rather than impulse? Rationality isn't coldness. It's a tool to steady your heart when the world feels unsteady. Let logic be your guide, just as it was for Lucius, and you'll find a path through even the darkest moments. As we move to the next secret, the virtue of acceptance, we'll build on this foundation by learning to surrender to what lies beyond our grasp. As we move from the grounding power of rationality, let's turn to a cornerstone of Stoic wisdom, the virtue of acceptance. I've often observed how much of our suffering stems from resisting what we cannot control. The Stoics, as historical records reveal, understood this deeply. They taught that life is a blend of what we can influence and what we must simply endure. Whether it's the weather, the actions of others, or the inevitable passage of time, fighting against these forces is like raging against the tide. It only exhausts us. Instead, acceptance becomes our quiet strength. Imagine standing before a storm, not with defiance, but with a calm resolve to let it pass. This is the essence of Stoic practice, acknowledging reality as it is, not as we wish it to be. Let me share a practical step to embody this principle. Take a moment to reflect and write down 3 things in your life that you cannot change. Perhaps a past mistake, a loved one's decision, or a circumstance beyond your reach. Look at each one and consciously choose to surrender. Whisper to yourself, "This is as it is." By doing so, you're not giving up. You're freeing yourself from the weight of futile resistance. The Stoics believe that true peace begins when we align with nature's course, accepting both the bitter and the sweet. This act of surrender isn't weakness, it's wisdom. It prepares us to face life's adversities with a steadier heart, as we'll explore next, with the courage to transform obstacles into opportunities. Let us now turn to the fourth Stoic secret, facing adversity with courage. As a philosophy, Stoicism teaches us not to shrink from obstacles, but to transform them into opportunities for growth. The Stoics believed that challenges are not curses, but tests of our inner strength, moments to prove what we are made of. Consider the story of a merchant in ancient Carthage, a man who lost his entire fleet in a devastating storm. Instead of succumbing to despair, he surveyed the wreckage with a steady heart, resolved to rebuild. He saw the ruin not as an end, but as a beginning, a chance to forge something stronger. This is the Stoic way, to stand firm when life strikes, to embrace hardship as a teacher, not a tormentor. When we face adversity with courage, we reclaim our power. So ask yourself, what obstacle before you might be hiding a lesson? Lean into it with bravery and watch how it shapes you into something unshakable. This mindset prepares us for the next secrets, cultivating virtue and mastering detachment. Let's turn inward now to two profound Stoic secrets that anchor the soul amidst life's storms, cultivating virtue and practicing detachment. I've often pondered how easily we tether ourselves to things, whether it's a cherished possession, a past relationship, or even an idea of who we should be. But Stoic wisdom, as echoed in teachings explored by National Geographic, reminds us that true freedom lies in living with virtue, wisdom, justice, courage, and self-discipline. These are the treasures no one can take from us, not even fate itself. Virtue isn't about perfection. It's about striving to act with integrity, even when the world feels unfair. Then there's detachment, the art of releasing our grip on what we cannot hold. The Stoics taught that clinging to material goods or emotional dependencies only breeds suffering. Imagine carrying a heavy stone everywhere you go. Why not set it down? I invite you to try this simple exercise. Take a quiet moment to journal about something or someone you feel attached to. Write down why it holds power over you, and then ask, can I let this go to reclaim my peace? This act of reflection isn't about erasing feelings. It's about loosening their hold so you can breathe freer. I've seen how these principles transform lives. When we live virtuously, we align with our highest selves. When we detach, we stop being slaves to fleeting things. It's a quiet rebellion against a world that tells us happiness comes from having more. Instead, we find it in being more grounded, more whole. So let's release what weighs us down and step lighter into life's next chapter. As we continue this Stoic journey, let's uncover two more secrets to mastering letting go and finding inner peace, navigating grief mindfully and practicing temperance. Grief, as the Stoics understood, is a natural tide of human emotion, but it need not capsize us. Imagine a sailor steering a ship through a fierce storm. The waves of sorrow crash relentlessly, threatening to pull the vessel under. Yet the sailor remain steady at the helm, not fighting the storm, but guiding the ship with calm resolve. So too must we face grief, not by suppressing it, but by observing it without being consumed. Seneca reminds us to mourn, yes, but to set a limit to our sorrow, to honor the loss without losing ourselves. When grief strikes, take a quiet moment. Breathe, acknowledge the pain, and let it pass through you like clouds across a vast sky. Ask yourself, how can I remember this loss with gratitude for what was, rather than resentment for what is gone? Now, let's speak of temperance, the balance of desires. Marcus Aurelius taught that excess, whether in indulgence or obsession, disturbs our inner equilibrium. Like the sailor who doesn't overload the ship with unnecessary cargo, we must trim away cravings that weigh us down. Whether it's the pull of material things or the ache for approval, temperance asks us to seek only what is necessary for a virtuous life. Reflect on your desires. Are they serving your growth or steering you into turmoil? Practice moderation by choosing simplicity over excess, and you'll find clarity amid the storm. These Stoic tools, mindful grief and tempered desires, are anchors in life's tempests, guiding us toward a harbor of peace. Let them steady you as we prepare to explore embracing change and pursuing lasting tranquility in the next Secrets. As we continue this journey through Stoic wisdom, let's turn to two final secrets that can truly transform how we face life's inevitable shifts. Secret 9 is about embracing change. Life, as the Stoics understood, is a constant cycle of growth and decay, of beginnings and endings. I've come across countless reflections on platforms like Reddit, where modern Stoics share how they've learned to see change not as a threat, but as a natural rhythm. Think of the seasons. Winter always gives way to spring. So too must we accept that loss, failure, or endings are not the end of our story, but part of it. Can we learn to flow with life's currents rather than resist them? When we stop clinging to what was, we open ourselves to what can be. Now, Secret 10 is the pursuit of inner peace through virtue. The Stoics believe tranquility isn't found in external achievements, but in living with integrity, wisdom, and kindness. Pain often stems from chasing fleeting pleasures. We are fearing inevitable losses. But what if we shift our focus inward, cultivating a calm mind rooted in moral strength? Imagine turning your deepest struggles into purpose by aligning with these timeless virtues. Ask yourself, what small act of virtue can I practice today? Patience in frustration, courage in uncertainty. By accepting life's cycles and anchoring ourselves in virtue, we don't just endure pain, we transform it into a stepping stone for a more meaningful existence. These secrets remind us that peace is not the absence of hardship, but the presence of a steadfast heart, ready to face whatever comes next. Let me take you back to ancient Rome, to the story of a young woman named Valeria, whose life serves as a profound lesson in Stoic wisdom. Valeria was a seamstress, living a modest but content life, weaving fabrics for the bustling markets. One fateful night, a devastating fire swept through her neighborhood, reducing her home, her workshop, and everything she owned to ashes. The loss was unimaginable. Her livelihood, her memories, all gone in an instant. At first, despair gripped her. She wept for what was lost, feeling the weight of a future she could no longer see. But then something shifted. Valeria remembered the teachings of the Stoics, lessons whispered by elders in the marketplace, words of Epictetus and Seneca about focusing only on what is within our control. She realized that while the fire was beyond her power, her response to it was hers alone to shape. So she stood amidst the ruins, took a deep breath, and chose to let go. She surrendered her attachment to what was lost and turned her gaze inward, finding strength in her own resilience. Day by day, she rebuilt not just her home, but her spirit. She bartered skills for materials, accepted help from strangers, and embraced the uncertainty of her new path with courage. Through Stoic principles, Valeria discovered that peace doesn't come from clinging to the past, but from embracing the present with a steadfast heart. Her story reminds us that even in our darkest moments, when all seems lost, we hold the power to transform suffering into strength. What she found was not just survival, but a deeper serenity, a stillness that no external loss could ever touch. As we've seen with embracing change and pursuing inner peace, Valeria's journey echoes the truth that pain can become purpose when we choose to let go and rebuild from within. As I reflect on Valeria's journey, from the ashes of loss to the quiet strength of surrender, I am reminded of the ultimate Stoic truth, a concept so profound it can reshape how we see every moment of our lives. It is called Amor, Fati, a Latin phrase meaning love of fate. This idea, deeply rooted in Stoic thought and echoed in historical texts, urges us to embrace everything that happens to us, not merely to accept it, but to love it, even the pain, even the struggle. Amor Fati teaches that every event, whether joyful or devastating, is woven into the fabric of our existence for a purpose. It is not about resignation. It is about seeing every challenge as a teacher, every loss as a step toward wisdom. Imagine Valeria standing amidst the ruins of her home, not cursing her fate, but whispering, "When we love our fate, we stop fighting life and start living it fully." This is the pinnacle of Stoic detachment, finding peace not by changing our circumstances, but by transforming our relationship with them, by loving what is exactly as it is. So I ask myself, and perhaps you might too, can I look at my own trials, my own fires, and say, I choose this, I love this? That, my friends, is the heart of free freedom. As I reflect on Valeria's journey, I can't help but see how her story mirrors so many of our own struggles. She lost everything in that fire: her home, her possessions, her sense of security. Yet through Stoic wisdom, she found a way to rise above it. She embraced Amor Fati, the love of fate, and realized that even her greatest pain held a purpose. What if your own losses, too, are not the end, but a beginning? What if your greatest loss is the doorway to your deepest peace? Think about a moment in your life when you felt broken. Perhaps a relationship that ended, a dream that slipped away, or a betrayal that cut deep. It's easy to see only the hurt in those moments, to feel trapped by the weight of what was lost. But what if that pain is trying to teach you something? Pause for a moment and ask yourself, what can I let go of today? What can I accept as it is, not as I wish it to be? Valeria's strength came from transforming her suffering into a quiet, unshakable resolve. And so can yours. You don't need to change the world around you to find peace, just the way you see it. Let her story be a reminder that even in our darkest hours, we hold the power to rebuild, to surrender, and to find freedom within. Take a deep breath and consider one challenge you faced. How might embracing it, rather than resisting it, lead you to a calmer, stronger version of yourself? As we reach the end of this journey, let's reflect on the 10 Stoic secrets that can guide us toward true freedom. First, perception. Understanding that our thoughts, not events, shape our pain. Then rationality, our steadfast anchor in emotional storms. Acceptance teaches us to embrace what we cannot control, while courage transforms obstacles into stepping stones. Virtue reminds us to live with integrity, and detachment frees us from unhealthy ties. We've learned to navigate grief mindfully, to practice temperance in our desires, to embrace change as life's natural flow, and to pursue inner peace through disciplined thought. These ancient tools, forged by thinkers like Epictetus and Seneca, remain timeless guides, as relevant now as they were centuries ago. Remember, Stoicism isn't about avoiding pain. It's about transforming it into power. So carry these lessons forward and let them light your path. What if your greatest loss, like Valeria's, is take a moment to reflect on a challenge you faced? How will you apply these secrets today?